Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tunyani Princess. I'm with the following group members: Ndlovu Thando, Mwapheko Malebogo, Thandile Stulo, Thato Motseki, Maureen Tsholofatso, and lastly Mozanani Makuya. Prior to 1994, the South African education system was racially divided into 19 racially segregated education systems. However, after 1994, the onset of the first democratic elections, the South African education system has undergone many curriculum changes through conscious efforts to include citizenship or human rights education in national schools policy. This presentation will explore 6 levels of curriculum reform in South Africa, which are Bantu Education Act that I'm going to focus on, outcome-based curriculum, Curriculum 2005, National Curriculum Statement, Revised National Curriculum Statement, and CAPS. Bantu Education Act was introduced in 1953, then later named the Black Education Act. The South African segregation law that legislated for several aspects of the apartheid system. The purpose of this act was to make sure that Black South Africans would ever be able to work semi-skilled and unskilled labors, even if they were intelligent enough to become skilled. The education for the Black South Africans was only in English and Afrikaans. The girls were taught needlework and planting, whereas whites were prepared and trained for white-collar, prestigious jobs.
Outcome-based education, also known as OB, is a curriculum that was introduced in 1997, which focuses on teaching learners on what is worth it to be learned. Subjects that were introduced during the implementation of outcome-based education as mathematics, physical sciences, which includes physical sciences and chemistry part, technology, life orientation, and communication, which was improved and piloted. Even though EMS was not introduced during the OBE curriculum, but we see the influence it has on it. This is evident on how it is taught, assessed to achieve lesson outcomes. EMS teaches learners the fundamentals of the business and economic growth, which is one of the aims of all outcome-based education.
My name is Thandile Stulo, and I'm going to talk about Curriculum 2005. Curriculum 2005 was introduced on the 24th of March in 1997 as the first non-racial and uniting vision in South Africa. Within the scope of Curriculum 2005, there were 8 learning areas that were introduced with it, which included languages literacy and communication, human and social sciences, mathematical literacy, mathematical sciences and mathematics, technology, natural sciences, life orientation, and economic and management sciences. Curriculum 2005 had many aims, but I would like to focus mainly on the one that says that it aimed to develop an internationally competitive country. That is why it had economic and management sciences as part of its 8 learning areas, because it wanted to prepare educators to teach learners that are inclusive in entrepreneurial activities. Curriculum 2005 required teachers to do a paradigm shift from old teaching approaches to new teaching approaches. The old teaching approaches included, or rather were based on the notion that learners are passive learners, they were exam driven, they were textbook bound, and they were mostly teacher centered, which means that the teacher was mainly the center of the teaching and learning process. However, the new approaches that Curriculum 2005 proposed were based on the notion that learners are active learners, and they included critical thinking, reflection, and reasoning, and they were mostly learner-centered, which means that learners were at the center of the teaching and learning. These new approaches that Curriculum 2005 came up with were based on the notion that was once said by a well-known theorist, that learners are not empty vessels awaiting to be filled with knowledge, but are active participants that can make meaning of their own learning. However, and unfortunately, regardless of all these good, great intentions and approaches and methods that Curriculum 2005 came up with, it also proposed many challenges such as the complexity of its terminology. Many teachers did not implement it and were not even willing to implement it in their classrooms, and by that time there were lack of materials to support it and to support the implementation of it, and thus Curriculum 2005 was disapproved.
I'll be focusing on National Curriculum Statement, which was introduced after Curriculum 2005 to redress the imbalances of the past that shaped inequalities in our education system, the inequalities that were caused by racism and discrimination and others. And its aim was to bring a close relationship that align with the social justice and human rights, and also provide equal educational opportunities to all the learners in South Africa. The subject EMS was categorized into 3 sections: to teach 30% about the economy of South Africa, and teach 40% of financial literacy, and lastly 30% of entrepreneurship or about businesses. In learning materials, EMS learners were provided with textbooks. Grade 8 and grade 9 were also provided with cash journal exercises books and also calculators. The cash journal exercises books for the part of financial literacy. This NCS came with a lot of challenges for teachers as the implementers of the curriculum. There was a lack of adequate resources, and there was also lack of training, and also there was workload that was being experienced by the teachers.
The revised National Curriculum Statement was first introduced in 2002 as a replacement of the previous National Curriculum Statement, with the aim of providing a more comprehensive and inclusive education for all learners in South Africa. The history of EMS education in South Africa dates back to the era of apartheid, when discriminatory policies were prevalent. EMS was seen as a subject only for white students. After the end of apartheid, government recognized the need to introduce EMS as a compulsory subject on the RNCS. The RNCS emphasizes the importance of EMS education in preparing learners for the world of work and equipping them with skills necessary for economic and financial management. As a result, EMS in South African schools is now more comprehensive and inclusive.
Greetings to you all. Today I'm going to talk about the implementation of CAPS. CAPS was introduced in 2009 and it was implemented in 2012 in all South African schools, and it applies to all the subjects. The implementation of CAPS seeks to provide a coherent, systematic content and knowledge to satisfy the aims of curriculum. CAPS is viewed as a policy that provides and gives the direction and guidance to the teachers, of which was lacking in Curriculum 2005 and RNC. Challenges with the implementation of CAPS. Educators feel that they were not adequately trained to implement CAPS, since the facilitators did not deal with the problems experienced in the classroom in a practical manner. And then the impact of CAPS on teaching. Some educators believe that CAPS has not reduced their workload. Teachers are frustrated as there are too many assessments and a very less time to teach. And then, what does the CAPS define the EMS? CAPS define EMS as a practical subject that equips the learners with the real life skills for personal development and the development of the community. The action of EMS as an integrated subject in the senior phase was informed by the implementation of CAPS in 2010. EMS helps to alleviate poverty and unemployment, and mostly important, it prepares the learners for a transition to the FET subjects, which are accounting, business studies, and economics.
The South African curriculum has undergone so much change over the years in a mission to eliminate racism, inequality, and discrimination. We may have not achieved this goal in its entirety, but there's definitely progress. Progress that is worth acknowledging. The EMS subject aims to equip learners with the knowledge of developing their communities through business opportunities and to become economic powerhouses, and the most important, to become responsible citizens who contribute to the country's economy in a positive way.